Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's edition of Benivo Bites. I'm Brian Friedman. I'm delighted to be your host for a fascinating show that we've got lined up for you today. Now, I think you all know how it works. We are, of course, the world's first mobility tech show, and what we want to do is to make today as interactive as possible. So please, as we start, do join in the conversation, write in the comments box, let us know that you're here, tell us a bit about yourself, where you are in the world. And as we go through the show today, if you've got questions, please ask the questions. We really want to be as absolutely as interactive as possible. I see people are coming in from all over the world, which is great news to see you all here, and we'll do some shout outs in a moment. So what we're going to be talking about today is Benivo Mobility Management. We talked about it a bit 2 weeks ago, but what we want to do today is to talk about it a bit more. We want to go into more detail. We want to talk about the employee view. We want to talk about how it links in with vendors. We want to talk about other areas that relate to what we do with it. But importantly, we want to be really interactive. We want to take your questions and find out, what it is, what you think about it, the questions you've got, areas where you're not sure. And we really want to get into those. More on that later when Nitzan Yudan joins me on screen and we start talking about Benivo Mobility Management. In terms of what's coming up, just to let you know and give you an update for, if you like, the future, is in next week's edition, we've got The View from the Top. And I'm delighted to say that our guest on The View from the Top next week is Marissa Johnson. Now, Marissa Johnson is the head of global mobility for Robert Half, one of the largest recruitment companies in the world. And before that, in fact, she was at Tesla. And so very much from a Californian perspective, which is where she's based out in Silicon Valley, she's going to be talking about mobility at Robert Half, her perspective on things, and all about designing, in her case, a very flexible and, in fact, quite a concierge style service. So we're going to be getting into a great discussion with Marissa next week. And then the week after that, Benivo Bites is back. And in fact, we've got some really exciting news about Benivo in the USA. And in particular, we're going to be talking about the Benivo technology and how it can be used for domestic relocations in the USA. That's on the 10th of March. So loads of things coming up, loads of things. One thing I do want to mention is, of course, the top 100 service providers. As everybody knows, we did the top 100 for the corporates, for the in-house people at the back end of last year. And we said that we would turn the table this time around and do the top 100 for service providers. And for the avoidance of doubt, I've had a few questions on this. When we say the top 100 service providers, we're not talking about corporations, we're talking about individual people. And so what I'm urging you to do, and I'll give you the website in a moment, is go onto the website and nominate whoever you think are your top 10 service providers, individual service providers, in the world. It could be a tax provider, a relocation provider, an immigration provider, I don't know, corporate housing, language, intercultural, household goods, shipping, just whatever. If they are a vendor and they provide excellent service, or they've got a great reputation, they're a great thought leader, then nominate them. You can nominate up to 10 people, and from that, we're going to create the top 100 list. Okay, so that's it. I mean, that tells you a bit about the top 100, the service providers. It's so easy. We've already shared on screen the website address, and this is all you do. You go onto this website. It's top100.benivo.com, or just go on the Benivo website and you'll find the link, and then you just nominate. It'll take you, I don't know, 5 minutes, if that, to make your nominations. It's ever so easy. So that's that for the top 100. We're going to keep the nominations open until the end of March, but please, we've already had quite a lot of nominations come in, but please do get on board, join in the fun. It is a bit of fun, but get on board and help us. The other thing I'm going to mention in the introduction is that we're going to be making some exciting announcements shortly about people who've joined the Benivo Strategy Council. We have a strategic council of very senior mobility directors who work with us and help us. We're going to make an announcement on that fairly shortly about others who've joined us. But if you would like to join us, and this is actually a paid position, if you would like to join us on the Benivo Strategy Council, then please, there is a message out there on LinkedIn, my colleague, or just email either me or my colleague, Nitzan Yudan. We're in particular looking for Strategy Council members to join us in the USA, and in particular in the West Coast of the USA. So if that might be of interest to you, then let me know and we'll see whether there could be a good fit there. Okay. So before we get started, I always like to just start the show by saying a little bit about Benivo and what we do, because it always amazes me. I'm talking to people, especially on the View from the Top, and we're talking about Benivo, and they say, well, actually, we know the View from the Top. We don't quite know what Benivo actually does. So I'm just trying to get the message out there. So excuse me for one moment, and I'll just say that what we're trying to create is a user experience, an Amazon style, maybe even an Uber Eats style user experience, which has got a fintech solution and an end-to-end mobility management system. And it's the mobility management system that we're going to be focusing in on today. There's actually the three aspects to what we do. There is the front end Amazon style experience, so people can use user reviews in the same way when you're buying stuff on Amazon to design their mobility experience. There's a fintech solution so people can fund their mobility move, whether it's lump sum or simply some form of rental allowance. And then there's also the mobility management system. Our nickname for that is Mobility Made Easy. And it's made easy because it's one platform that's easy to implement. There's no cost to implementation. We say there's no implementation fees, no API fees, no hidden fees, zilch, nada, niente. So it is a very, very simple platform, but I'm not really going to be talking about that anymore now. I'm going to leave that to Nitzan in a moment. But the first thing we're going to do, and it's what we always do at this stage, is we have an immigration update. And I'm delighted to say that once again, Julia Onslow-Cole is joining us. And once again, actually, she's joining us from Dubai. And we're going to go straight into Julia's immigration update. I know a lot of you always look forward to hearing from Julia. So without further ado, let me bring Julia on stage.
Hi, Brian.
How are you doing?
Fine, thank you. Very well. Yeah.
Good. You're obviously in Dubai for the long haul.
Yes, for a little bit longer.
Okay, well, we really appreciate it because I know it's quite late there as well. So, and what are you going to be talking to us about today?
So I just wanted to just bring out a couple of global mobility challenges that we're seeing that global leaders have. And in particular, talk about some compliance, some risk management challenges, and also about assignee experience. Okay,
well, let's go for it. Just the stage is yours, Julia. Go for it.
Fine. So I think one of the consequences of the pandemic is that governments all around the world have really accelerated the digitalization of their government systems. And what this has meant for global mobility leaders is that whereas before you could give data to one part of the government and you needn't be so worried that, that wasn't going to be reflected in another part of the government, now I think it's something that you need to be really concerned about. So you really have to focus in on the accuracy of your data and the data integrity and the consistency in the way that you're putting data across. So by way of example, there's 7 different government departments in China that are involved in the work permit process. And now these are all kind of joined up digitally. And we have come across situations very recently where the wrong data has been given to one department and it's caused a lot of issues. And we're seeing that obviously in countries like China, Hong Kong, Singapore, there's been a huge push forward in digitalization. But this is not just restricted to those countries. It's also with countries like Malaysia and Indonesia. They've really improved their processes too. And another aspect of the pandemic has been that governments around the world have introduced lots of concessions. So as an example, one concession in Asia Pacific was that if, it's almost impossible in COVID to get a police certificate of registration for all the countries you've been in the last 10 years. And so they allowed people to sort of self-certify that they didn't have any problems with the police in any of the countries. And now they're sort of got more time to check. Some of these statements aren't actually proving to be correct. So as global mobility leaders, what's your policy on this? Are you going to make sure that, for example, you do the checking? Or are you going to make sure that those individuals, the assignees, sign something themselves to say that their statement is true?
And what's your recommendation then?
Well, I mean, I think you do need definitely to get something in writing from the assignee. I mean, I think to say that is the case, I think that is absolutely recommended. But I think that, it might be that you want to go beyond that and do some further checking. I mean, one thing that's come to light this week is in Singapore, it's been discovered that there's these places called degree mills where a lot of people who are working in Singapore have got higher degrees and they've just sort of paid for them, and they might have done a small online course, but they certainly haven't done what looks like they've done on the certificate. And the Ministry of Manpower is taking a very harsh look, not just at these cases, but also the companies that have been relying on these certificates. And it reminded me that many, many years ago, I went to New Delhi to the British consulate, and I actually had tea with the consulate general, and I looked at his desk, and he had a marriage certificate of himself to Claudius Schiffer. And he told me that when he got bored, he changed it to another person. But it was so easy to get these certificates. And I think, you have to be very mindful about this. And I think the other thing to say is that, of course, with COVID and crisis management, it's really, really important that you're refreshing, those compliance and risk management policies. And then I just wanted to say something about assignee experience, because everyone has a really tight budget. So you want to increase assignee experience, but not at cost. So I think one of the things, and everybody says it, for so, it's almost become a really obvious statement that you don't want to be asking your assignee more than once for documents. And I think this is one of the things when Nitzan shows the platform, it's a really very, very important feature that you need to have these documents in one place. And vendors need to sort of share those documents, but it's not just, copies of passports. It goes way beyond that. It goes to references and many other documents. And the other thing for assignee experience is to actually really help assignees. And it's very, very interesting to be in a position where I was kind of assigning myself. And, where I book flights thinking, I might actually think about going somewhere. Like I might think even going home. And then, then literally 2 days later, you get told, oh, no, there is no flight. That flight's been cancelled. No, there is no actual journey that you can make in that route. And then, and then someone says to you, oh, and no, well, you could go to that country, but you have to quarantine for 14 days. Then someone says, no, it's 10. So I really get this experience firsthand, which shows you, how it can feel if you're away from home, and therefore in getting this right and getting that data right is very important. And the other thing is that post the pandemic, there are lots of new immigration rules everywhere in the world. And I think, it's very important that you as Global Mobility take hold of these new rules and decide what your policy is going to be for your company. And I was involved in some discussions led by some of our partners in the UK this week, when we're talking about different policies in the UK. So, for example, it's now possible to switch from an intercompany transferee position to that of a skilled worker position, and then you can get a permanent residence. So do you encourage that? Do you support that? That could go a long way for assignee satisfaction. And I think that all of these things are really very important. Like, are you going to sponsor dependents? And are you going to pay all these fees? So in summary, there's a lot of different policies that you have to consider, a lot of risk and compliance issues. And I think that this is probably hopefully a good little segue into what Nitzan's going to talk about with the Global Mobility Platform, because one of the things that all of these discussion involves is having really good data to enable you to do, cost benefit decisions and enable you to really take an informed view of these different ways forward.
Okay, that's really helpful, because we don't really talk very much about employee experience as part of immigration. I don't maybe it's just me, but I haven't really thought of it as being such. But you're so right. I mean, the employee experience of dealing with all those different government departments or all those different forms can be horrendous. And I think anything we can do, whether it's with good immigration advice or technology or any other way to enhance employee experience, just makes the whole move so much better. I mean, here's a question that's just come in, actually. Here we are on stage. How do you manage as a vendor meeting the company's policy and also the assignee experience, which may not be aligned?
Yes, that's a really good. Oh, Fiona's so good at asking good and difficult questions. But I think that is difficult. I think, though, that the vendor's got to get on board with what the company wants. And then in some ways, if, for example, the company policy is not to, in that one example, switch people from intercompany transferee to skilled worker because it's too expensive, then they have to kind of, make sure that they're, putting those options across to the assignee in a very careful way. But it is a really good point, because your vendor's representing you, representing the company. And it's not very helpful if you, there is a discord and it's not aligned. Okay,
well, we'll catch up with you towards the end of the show. But let's move on now to talk about mobility management, the technology. And I'm going to bring on stage my colleague Nitzan. So thank you so much, Julia, and see you in a few moments. Hey, Nitzan. Oh, gosh, I've left Julia with us. Apologies, Julia. I shall remove you forthwith. Technical error there, folks. I haven't done that one before. Anyway, I have these little video clips. One of the reasons I have them is it allows me to seamlessly move people on stage and off stage so nobody notices I'm doing it. And I've blown it completely. So hopefully out there in the audience, you'll forgive that little blooper. Anyway, Nitzan, it's great to see you. And I know we're going to be talking about Benivo Mobility Management and the platform that's developed. And we're going to be recapping some of the stuff we talked about last week. And we're going into a whole lot of new areas with it. And indeed going, and going to a lot of question and answers as well. So, but let me just start off with the first basic question is, why did we build a mobility management platform in the first place?
Yeah, thanks, and hi everyone. So it's a great question, and the answer to that is the answer for everything else that we built. It really came from our clients, the corporates who we work with, asking us, hey, we love the Benivo employee platform, but can you help us also manage some records? Or can you help us also initiate a few vendors and do a few more things? We kept building, and being a cloud solution, it means that every time we build a new feature, we can roll it out to all our clients. And at some stage, we realized that we have very good tools in Benivo to how we manage data, how we use dashboards, monitors, real-time alerts, predictive analytics. Why don't we just give the same tools to our clients? And that's how we ended up focusing so much on data, realizing that that's what can really help mobility manager become more effective in their work and maybe more efficient. So do the work more efficiently and make a bigger impact. And here we are after more than a year of work. I'm really excited to launch and share with you this.
Okay, so it's unlocking the power of big data. That's one of the issues that you want to talk about. Tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, I think one of the things, and you had it in previous shows here as well, that in order to be strategic, we need to use data better. And one of the things that we keep seeing in the mobility industry is that we don't use enough data. Data is not easily available. It often sits with the vendor or with the spreadsheet. And it's not that it's one vendor, it sits across many vendors. So it's very tough to get everything together. It's very tough. There's a lot of time that is being spent on validating the data, on doing checks and connecting that, which doesn't leave enough time to actually use data as a tool that allows us to be more proactive rather than reactive. Identify the issues before they are becoming an escalations, using live alerts, having the information in our control. That's why we are so excited about the use of data and how this can unlock so much more value to companies. Because what we've seen is that if there is one thing everyone saw in the pandemic is that mobility leaders became even more busy than before. So data,
which people weren't expecting, were they? Just
volume went down, but work went up. And if there is one thing we know is that volume will go up. And what do we do with that?
There's a huge pent-up demand out there.
Yeah, and really, why we build that, right? A lot of the times we saw companies still using spreadsheets and using an ineffective way, and we just thought, all right, we know to build technology. Let's see how we utilize that, and how we build something that is also fast. A lot of the things that motivate me working in Benivo, as well as others who are working here, is the fact that we get things done fast. We enjoy that. It motivates us. It's also refreshing in our industry, and that's also why this management platform that we build is going live in days, not in months, not in years. It's very, very easy to set up. It's very easy to make changes.
You know what, Nitzan? Think about it. I may challenge you, and I'm interested to see what the audience think. But why don't we get somebody on a future show online, and we'll make changes live on air, show how fast it can be? Is that something we could do?
Sure. Yes. Let's go for that.
Okay. We'll pencil that in. Sometime in the future, we will do a show where we will show live how fast this technology can be adapted.
Sounds fun. It sounds fun. I actually going to show one example today that a corporate asked us to add something to the immigration report, and we just built very fast, and here it's easy to say because it's already live, but I take your challenge. We'll go into live updates of that.
Okay, that's going to be fun.
Definitely. One other thing that is unique about the platform is not that it's fast, it's also a single platform for everything. A single platform for the mobility manager, end-to-end, a single platform for the employee to see everything that is happening with all the areas of the relocation. 2 weeks ago, when we did the first show, I showed a little bit the view from the mobility manager. We didn't have time to look on the view for the employees and the view for the vendors, HRBPs. I'm going to show those views today, as well as a recap of some of the points we've covered last time, and answering those many good questions we received, and not all of them we got to answer.
Okay, so maybe what we should do is show a bit of a demo as a recap, and then what I'd like to do is to encourage the audience to ask as many questions as possible. And after we've done a bit of a demo, we'll go into a real Q&A session. So we won't put the questions up immediately. We'll do a little bit of demo, but keep those questions coming in. And in about 5 minutes time, we're going to go into a real Q&A session and take some of those. So where would you like to start, Nitzan?
Yeah, let's look and do a quick recap of some of the points we've shown last time, and I'll deep dive from there. So let's share my screen, and we'll continue from there.
Okay,
all right.
Screen. Tell us what are you showing us now?
We are actually on the immigration report. I'll get to that in a minute, but let's start from for the beginning, right? So the first most basic thing that a platform should have is a tool for record keeping, right? Getting the basics of the employee details. How can we show them? What do we know about each assignee, etc.? How can we add them to the platform? I can show quickly how we can do an initiation. I can do either a bulk initiation through a CSV or one by one. And of course, this is integrated. And that's a question that came last time a few times, so I'll answer that. We are integrating to every HRIS, HCM, so a Workday, PeopleSoft, any tool like that, it's possible to integrate. So there is no need to enter information manually. I'm doing now a little bit of that because obviously as a demo platform, this is not integrated. But I can here do a first initiation of an employee, choose the location they are going to be relocating to, and select some basic information. This whole area is customizable and configurable for every corporate. So we will include as many fields as you want here, but only the relevant fields that are specific to the company. So every company can customize that. And again, these customizations are happening very quickly. So I'm going to go through that. I can select the information that I want to enter, and then go and create that user on our platform. And next, I can go and start to initiate the user into different vendor services, right? And I can select, let's say this is the fixed services that they receive as part of their policy. And now I can even make exceptions, and I can add additional services that the employees will receive, and then I will provide the information that is required in order to initiate that service. And all the information will be sent securely to each of the vendors, so they can receive the information and not receive it by email. Anyone here who is still initiating by email, this is not safe, and this is violating privacy data regulations. Initiation should not happen by email. We do data GDPR compliance as well as other data privacy and data security compliance solution to ensure that all initiations and the data in them is secure, as well as all the information only needed to be provided once. So date of birth is a great example. We were working with a corporate who every employee had to enter their date of birth 16 times through different areas of working with different vendors. Here, I give it once, and the platform will know and have it for.
And that's what we call automagic functionality.
Exactly. Right. Let's have a look at, once we have someone on our system, what we can see about them. I can see the key dates, the location, where they are, the key information about the employee, etc. And later, kind of my dashboard. Then I can see any documents that I've uploaded already for the employee, which documents are about to expire, expiration date, etc. I'll see later how we use that. Documents can come here. I can upload a document. I can also download them, but I can upload a document. I can add a document here, just drag and drop it. Or the employee can upload a document for the employee platform, or a vendor can upload a document, and it's all connected into a single place, going across between those platforms. When I'm looking at vendor services, I can see which vendors were initiated for this employee and also the status of delivery. So I can see at any stage, and we're also going to look how it looks from the employee side. What is the status of delivery? I can see that in step 3, how long normally it takes, what are the next steps, etc. And that's a core thing of how we use data. So we're going to go into this concept of vendors delivery for a few angles today, and I'm going to cover that a few times.
Whilst we're on the subject of data, Nitzan, just a couple of questions that have come in. I just want to sort of pick up a questions. Here's a question from Linda Smeets. Linda's with Heineken, I believe, and she says, do employees need to sign something on your platform to ensure GDPR, i.e. that they allow you to forward the information to other companies?
Hi, Linda. Yes, great question. So we will support whatever process you have now. So if you have a process that you've already get that before you even initiate them to the initial platform, then that's fine. If not, then they can sign it on the platform. And a good question can be also a great question. Let's say I just want to add now an example of a document that I want the employee to sign. I can activate that. I can provide a template and just initiate it, and it will go to the employee for signature on their platform. And the only information I need to add here to this document is information that is not at the moment provided to the platform already. So the platform already knows not to ask for the same information like the employee name, etc., all of that, and will show how that works on the employee side. But to answer your question quickly, yes, we support that. Any document can be signed, all integrated with DocuSign, meaning they can do it from their mobile phone, on the go, etc. And the system keeps the record of all these documents.
Okay, and I'll just add in a couple of quick other questions that have come in, and then we'll carry on with the demo, and I'll take some more questions again later. From Frederick Franchi, he said, if we can get that one up on screen, he said, are integrations free with vendors and HRIS?
Yes, we don't charge anything for integration, for data upload, for customization, for changes. All of that is included.
Okay, and then one other question where I think there might have been a slight confusion or misunderstanding that I just want to sort of just get you to address. It's from Simon Scott at Altair. And he said, so you were saying that RMCs are not capable of managing data, but you can. How do you expect RMCs to respond to this? I think it's not what we're trying to say at all. But Nitzan, why don't I leave that one with you? Sure.
Simon, I apologize if you were offended. Definitely, I don't remember saying that RMC can't manage data. But if so, I apologize. That's not what I'm saying. I think those who know me know that I have a lot of respect to RMCs and the work that they do. I think the value that we add and some of the value that even people at Altair valued, actually, they call it the holy grail, the fact that we can get the information not just from the RMC and its vendors, but also from the other areas of the mobility experience, the immigration, the tax, the employee experience, all of that into a single platform. I think that's the area. And what we are offering here is a solution that does not replace RMCs. this is not our model. This is not what we've been pitching for the last 10 years. We are not replacing RMCs. We are giving tools that are allowing to get the benefits of data, to get better employee experience, and we are collaborating with all RMCs and with many other vendors, and obviously adding the value of having everything in a single platform and having the information, as hopefully you'll see soon in a few minutes that you haven't seen before.
Okay, well let's move on with the demo, but do keep the questions coming in, because we do want to answer all your questions and address any concerns or any thoughts you may have, and indeed any suggestions you may have for future areas of development. But Nitzan, okay, I can see you're moving your screen on, so back to you then.
Yeah, let's continue on. We saw all the basic functionality of managing the record, the employee, the details, passport, etc. We saw the vendor initiations. We are now looking at everything from the mobility manager point of view. What I'm looking at now is some of the data, because I want to excite Simon and a few others around that. So let's have a look here around some of those first area of reports around employee demographics, right? So that can be as simple as just showing by business unit. And of course, there is a separate view for the HRBPs for the business that can access and then see the information they want. So let's say I'm from the, here it says retailing services department, and I want to see what's happening with my assignees. I don't need to ask. I can just log in and I can see how many people I have an assignment, what their status is. I can see that some of them are overdue with their tax return, and one of them has a visa that is about to expire, and that's actually Amanda Jackson. So maybe I need to make sure that my immigration vendor is also on top of that and everyone is up to date. So what do we see here? We see here easy access to filtering in any way that we would like, to be able to have the data as live, and most importantly, to create alerts. So we don't need to manually monitor that, but the system does it and gives us real-time alerts regarding passport expiries or COC expiries, anything that needs that we want to monitor, and all of that can be adjusted as we want, right? So we can add alerts, we can remove alerts, we can customize that, and definitely we can do that live if anyone wants to see it. Even as we speak, those things can happen. We'll do that show as you promised. All right, so that's one example. Other areas are around more specific on document management. So I can see here what percentage of employees have updated their document, my W-4, I-9s, what was signed, what was not, proof of address, passport, etc. And in all of these, I can, 9 employees haven't yet signed their assignment letter. I can click, I can immediately see who they are and take actions about that. Sorry.
So this is allowing the mobility manager, I was just summarizing as I understand it, this is allowing the mobility manager to understand what's going on in terms of the document process and also compare how some employees are doing, assignees are managing compared to others. So it can highlight exceptions before they become exceptions.
Exactly that, with the ability to drill down by country, by business unit, by brand, really as I want, I can drill down to see the information. Next area of reporting is about the employee's progress. Every for every client that we work with, we can define a few key actions that are especially important for the mobility team, and then we can see a report of which actions have been completed, which are still in progress, and which hasn't started yet. And we are also opening it up to the RMCs or the other vendors who are working with us. So with the example that Simon from Altair raised before, your consultant will be able to contact the employee and not just talk with them about how their relocation is going, but telling them, hey, I can see that you still haven't confirmed your housing plans as you were supposed to be to do. How can I help you progress with that today? right? So we can give a lot more bespoke and relevant information, as well as see the progress, again, identify issues. I can see immediately that Lauren is less engaged, and that is sometimes very important for the recruiters, as they want to see that people are onboarding on time, saving steps on onboarding, so we can give an access to the recruiters just to see what's going on with the people that they are onboarding, if these are new hires, as an example.
Okay, that's super impressive.
All right, let's have a look at other areas of the platform where we use data. One of the other areas is around how we can better understand what's happening with the services delivered by our vendors. And here I give an example of immigration. And what I can see here on this dashboard is what is the status of, at the moment and in the past, of my immigration application. So I can see that on average, an immigration application takes 112 days. I can see that I have 150 people year to date and 18 at the moment. And let's say I'm working with 2 immigration providers. I can go and compare and see, for example, what is their acceptance rates. I can see this immigration provider has 72% success rate. And if I'm going to switch to the second immigration provider, I can see that they have 77%. And then, all right, this one is more successful. Why? I can drill down into which countries they are, home country, host country, and really analyze the data to see, compare performance between a few vendors, as well as within my single vendor. What else?
And you could put in employee satisfaction as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. I can see employee satisfaction. I can see, let's say on my immigration process, there are 6 steps. I can see now each step, how many days does it take? So I can see here, step 1 is contact the immigration provider needs to contact the employee. And that takes on average 2.2 days. And I know that the SLA is 3 days. So I can see that on average, the vendor is performing on the SLA. And this is live, which means I can actually see that at the moment, there are 5 employees that are in this stage for longer than the SLA. And I can just click, see who they are, and make sure we are taking an action to help them even before there is an escalation, or before the business has raised any concern. So we have live alerts. We don't need just to wait for the quarterly or 6 months report that we are getting from our vendors. We see all those reports on the progress live, including the notifications telling us when an issue is likely to happen.
Okay. Do you want to take some more questions at this point, Nitzan, or do you want to move on with the
Yes,
demo?
I'll show one more thing on immigration, and then I'll take the questions. This is one thing we were asked just last week, was about just add to us ability to see the breakdown by type of visa. How many people do we have on each visa, on year to date or specific date, etc. And just wanted to show it here because it's colorful and also helpful. And last point I want to cover just on immigration is the ability to use predictive analytics. Right, so we actually analyze the data that we have already, and the reason we have so much data is because many times the initiations happen to us, or we build the integrations, and I will also show how that looks from the vendor platforms, how we collect the data. It allows us to forecast how long should the immigration application take for every person based on the combinations of countries, the type of visa they apply to, and other information that we have, demographics, etc. And see, so far it's been 35 days, and we expect that to be a total of 70 days for Mark to get their visa. Let's go with a few questions.
Okay, I'll just put a couple up here. From Willis, he says, does the system have an alerts capability? Would it, for instance, alert the assignee or vendors in cases of a work visa nearing expiry?
Yes, 100%. We can decide with the business who they want the alerts to go, and then we share those alerts.
Okay, and then a couple of comments here I saw from Petra Bernard, she says, I'm liking the clarity of this, and we're delighted. And in the same vein, a comment from Nicola. He says, what I like about this the most is the cleanliness of it, transparency. You essentially get the information you need and that you most of the time need to deliver to other departments. Really essential stuff. It would help tremendously.
That's great to hear. Really, really happy to hear that.
And then a question that's come in, this is from Dawn, and she said, can you talk about the vendor performance section? How is this used?
Yes, I'll show that in a minute. I want to show one thing about the employees' experience, two things actually from the employees' view, and then I'm going to talk more about the vendors.
Okay, and then there are, sorry, just a couple of other questions that I just want to pull up that in fact had been emailed into us earlier, and I'll just touch on those if I may. What is the minimum size of program that this is of interest to?
Yeah. So first, I think it also it's a good question because it's also answer who is it for? Is it for corporate or for RMCs? What we are saying is that this is a platform for the corporate. This is who we expect to be the main beneficiary of that, the main user. It works alongside the RMC, as I've mentioned before. In terms of volume size, normally we're looking about 100 moves a year. That does not mean 100 assignees, right? That will include people who are anything from self-initiated to early career programs to lump sum. 100 moves in new hires, 100 moves in total. That's roughly. And of course, we're talking about normal years, not during a pandemic year. So if that's roughly the volume, then when it starts to make sense to use a technology solution.
And a couple of other quick questions that I'll maybe just leave with you. What can it integrate with?
Yes, we
integrate with.
Anything we can integrate with anything except with my cat. But more seriously, we love integrations. We are integrating with. We can integrate with vendors who are willing to do that, but we also have solutions for vendors who don't want to support integration or cannot yet support integration, or until they support integrations, we connect to HR, to payroll, to really any internal tool that is needed. And really, what excites us is integration, because they unlock so much the power of data and the ability to eliminate data entry duplication.
Okay, and then one last question. I know we're going to be covering it on a later show, but I'll just sort of raise it very quickly. Is what about cost estimates and payroll? Big question.
Yes, it's a big question for a quick answer. Yes, we'll do a separate show, but we are integrated with cost estimation solutions where you can run the cost estimation as part of the first steps, even before the initiations, go into the approval, get all the costs that like you will expect to see it on the platform, and then later also be able to measure reports of actual cost versus the estimate, right? So having the full overview. I didn't yet cover any of the reporting that we have on total compensation and cost and how we collect the information from all the different sources. Hopefully we'll get to that as well today.
Okay, so I better let you carry on with the demo, but the cost estimates, just to reiterate, that it is fully integrated within the package, and indeed, in most cases, depending on the client size, but in most cases for substantial clients, then the cost estimates are all included in the standard price. But so Nitzan, let's start talking about, you wanted to cover a couple of other areas, I believe.
Yes, I wanted to also give a few angles to this same experience. How does it look from the side of the employee? I'm not going to show today everything on the employee platform. We had that in previous shows and we'll have that in future shows, but just covering one area today that is relatively new, which is, we call them Benivo trackers, the ability to see what's the status of delivery with any of my vendors. We see that as a really important part of an employee experience, of reducing anxiety and of delivering a more complete experience.
So this is flipping the tables. This isn't the mobility manager keeping the data on the employee. This is the employee keeping the data on the various vendors that are managing his or her move.
Exactly, and that can be different vendors, it can be different processes, services that are available for them, even internal processes. We can show the status updates on them. So let's say I'm looking, as we saw before, on immigration, just to close that loop. How will it look from the employee side? I can see here what stage I am in the immigration, who should take the next step, what are the next steps, how long should it take? Or if I want to look on home search, I can see that I finished these steps in my home search, or the vendor finished them, and I can see here what's the next step. Now it's the stage of the offer submitted. I can see what does that step mean, and next we're gonna go into negotiating the tenancy agreement. So I get a short description on all of them, expectation, how long normally it takes, who will take an action, and really helping me manage my expectation, kind of what we call sometimes the Uber Eats experience, right? When we order food on Uber or any other service, and we want to see when it arrives, or when we order a package on Amazon and we are anxious to see when it arrives. So the same experience, delivering it also for the employees. We talked a little bit about the importance of signing documents. So here I can go into my action section and I can see any document that I need to sign, and I can get a digital brief, never longer than a tweet, that allows me to get the key things that I need to know, right? So in this assignment letter, I should notice these 3 areas. These are the most important ones. And next I can go and I can view this document either here, or of course I can download that, and I can go, and all the information is pre-populated, right? So I don't need to enter the same information that has been already collected. Everything is pre-populated for me. I can review that, I can sign it, and immediately it will send a notification and alert that I can move to the next step, and my mobility team can see that I've accepted the assignment letter. All right, I'm gonna share my screen again so I can show you also the view from the vendors.
Whilst you're pulling that up, then let me just ask you, Lisa Johnson's asked the question, is it more for lump sum and cash for service policies?
I'll be interested to know what so far made you think so. We do, as we've said many times before, have solutions for lump sum, but that's not what the only thing we support, right? So yeah, I mean, as I said, I'd be interested to hear why you think that that's for a lump sum. I have just a second here. Not good at multitasking.
Okay, well, whilst you're doing it, I'll answer a couple of questions. Manuela Toma has said, congratulations for the beautiful tool. Are free demos available? Thank you. And the answer is yes. I mean, you know, if for clients that want to see it, then, you know, do contact us, and we're very happy to organize demos. There's also, by the way, if you go onto the Benivo website, there are videos of demos that you can see as well. And then a comment here from Willis, the tracker's idea is superb. And a comment here, read the predictive analytic functions. Does the data pull from just a single client or across engagements using the platform? I don't know if you can just take that one, Nitzan.
Yeah, so both. We can use data from my corporate, and we can also provide the benchmark on other data sources. So the question about lump sum, no, it's not only for lump sum. We have fantastic solutions for lump sum and cash populations, but that's for another show and for previous shows where we talk about those population. It's not only for them. I want to show a little bit the view from the vendor, right? So
shall I share your screen again then?
Yes, please.
There you go.
We created vendor platforms that allow the vendor to securely log in, get all the data of the initiation, then go into, let's say I receive this initiation here, I can choose which of my consultants I want to assign this initiation to, and then later I can also update on the status of delivery. So let's say we've done now the introduction call, this is now complete, I can mark it here as complete, and that's how the updates are happening on the Benivo trackers and also the mobility managers and the dashboards on the vendors. So all the information can be updated ideally with an API, but we also have secure and easy to use solutions that allow me also to report progress even without that. I can then as the vendor, I can go as well as upload an invoice. I can do that here, provide the employee that the service was delivered to, drag and drop, and the platform will do the rest. And that's what allows us to do is to create those advanced reports that I've mentioned before, that we are then showing to the mobility manager by collecting information from all the different sources, payroll, vendors, from the employees if they submitted any reimbursement, and creating detailed costs reports about expenses, what are the costs we have and how we use, right? So I can see here the total spend, the number of employees on assignment, the spend by type, the spend by employee, the spend, I can see how much of the budget has gone into shipping, into housing allowances, etc. I can manage my exceptions. I can see how employees are spending comparing to what we expect them to be spended, etc. So a lot of data, a lot of analysis can be done with this information about cost and total compensation.
Okay, that looks really interesting. Is there more to be showing here? Oh, there's so much to show. I don't know if there's...
Yes, we can spend a lot more time here. There was a question about lump sum. So for lump sum populations, there is also additional reporting capabilities about where the employee, because we also facilitate the money transfers many times on the lump sum using our fintech solution, we can also give a lot of data about how employees are actually using it, whether they use it with a virtual card or reimbursement or withdrawing the money, etc. We can show data about what the employees are using it, even how much people use it comparing to the average, comparing to their, obviously put caps and identify when people are close to their caps, allowing us then to optimize our packages. I can see, for example, under a specific service, who are the most popular vendors that employees are selecting, and then some companies even go and say, all right, let's negotiate with these vendors special promotions for our employees so they get the benefit. A lot to do with a lot of power for the data, a lot of things we can leverage on.
Okay, we've got a lot more questions coming in. Is this a good time to take the questions?
Yes, let's just do questions for the rest of.
Okay, so shall I stop sharing your screen then?
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's do that. Okay, so from Merrily, hi there, Merrily. Nitzan, so you can build APIs into your system from other systems and outbound to vendor or company systems as well? Question mark.
Yes, 100% the answer is yes.
Okay, and let's just take some of these other questions that have come in. Here we go, Manuela. Have you considered adding modules? Oh, my tongue is tripping. Adding modules dedicated to compliance processes and fiscal implications on remote and digital remote work?
Yes, this has definitely been a very relevant topic. Recently, we launched a solution around finding employees' location, and once a company started to use that, we've started to develop more into that. So yes, definitely an area of interest that we can deliver value on.
Okay, another question coming in from Vladimir. What are the reporting capabilities for the client? Can data be exported to Excel?
Yes, I also love Excel. So at the end of the day, you can export everything you've seen here, all the data to a spreadsheet, and do your own analysis and your own chart. Everything I've shown here is the data that is available for the corporate. It's not for the client. It's not information that is sitting with us and our consultants then share what they see. It's available also for self-serve. So they will have this tool with the ability to use that all the time, as well as the ability to get export everything to a spreadsheet.
Okay, and then a couple of questions from Kathy. The first is, what if the current HR system is not ready for integration? Can Benivo Global Mobility Platform operate as a standalone platform?
Yes, and we've done that. Sometimes integrations with the HR system take a bit longer due to other internal priorities. We have solutions for that, and you can use the system with bulk uploads, with CSVs uploads, etc., with Excel uploads until the integration is built, or if it's not built, it can be a complete standalone.
Okay, and there's two related questions. The first one, I'll just give you both questions. I think there's a slight misunderstanding up there that we should just deal with, which is a LinkedIn user, I'm not sure who that was actually, says, when you say the minimum number of moves is 100, could you share why that is, particularly if the system is free? And the other question that is in a similar vein is from Kathy, and she says, it is nice to see that the technology integration and customization is free of charge. How are you making money? What is the catch and the average cost to utilize the platform? So I think we just need to, I think we've been fairly upfront with our charging structure, but let's just talk about that in its sense, make sure everybody fully understands what the charging structure is and what is free and what isn't free.
Yes, so today we've shown one area of the Benivo experience, which is the mobility platform, what we call the streamline of the end-to-end mobility experience, is one area where we add value. There are two more areas where we add value. One of them is fintech, distributing of funds, and providing our pay later product. And the third area is the digital destination, the e-counselor, where employees can get destination support for anywhere or covering all the areas of the destination. And this is delivered by a product. So there are three main areas where we add value. The price is when someone purchases the digital destinations, they also get the management platform at no additional cost, right? So that's the idea. That's why there is no need for an implementation fee, API fee, etc. There is a need to buy something from us, right? So if the only thing you want, if you want only one of those three areas of value, that's fine. If you want to benefit from all three, that's better. But the price in that aspect is quite simple. We have a price per unit. Our average price, our typical prices are between $500 to $700 per employee, depending if you want the finance solutions or not. That's a difference in the pricing, mainly the pay later product. The lump sum disbursements are for free, and that's for the minimum size, right? So with volume, price goes down. So price can go down from the prices I've said of 500 to 700 with higher annual volumes.
So the way I like to look at it is what we're saying is that for a price which is less than the cost of one day's home search, and we're talking hundreds of dollars here rather than anything more, for a price that is less than one day's home search, you get digital destinations, which is effectively digital home search, but on steroids in the sense that it gives you all the crowdsourced information from other employees. You get the fintech solution, and you get the whole mobility platform as well. And one of the things that in my conversation I found has appealed to the mobility managers is that there's no cost there that is actually borne by the mobility function itself. And I appreciate that most mobility functions tend not to have a lot of budget because the cost that goes out is cost of the move. That typically gets charged to the line, to the business unit that's moving people, and all these ancillary benefits like the fintech, like the mobility management platform, they are there effectively free of charge. So you, the mobility manager, get a complete free platform, and there is a charge, and the charge is normally charged onto the line, but it's a charge to the move of the individual expat. But actually, it's effectively coming out of, if you like, the digital destinations, the digital home search, all the other stuff that's going on in terms of the digital experience. Is that a fair way to describe it, Nitzan?
Yes, I think, we like to operate in transparency, and it was great to hear it here in the comments. Transparency on our pricing, how we make money, where we make money, how can we offer so much additions to that. But happy to take those conversations also in one-to-one. Reach out to any of the Benivo team members or to Brian and me, and happy to continue those conversations.
Okay, well, thank you for that, Nitzan. I'll just bring Julia back on stage. The team says goodbye. We've come to the end of our hour. Hopefully people have found it very useful. As ever, Julia, your immigration updates have been absolutely fascinating. I know we'll see you again next week on The View from the Top, and the week after that back on Benivo Bites. For people out there who've got more questions on the platform, please don't hesitate to either email Nitzan or me, or reach out to us on private message us on LinkedIn, and come through to us, because we are keen to to tell you about it. We are very, very excited about this technology. And thank you all for wherever you are in the world. I appreciate people have come in from all over the world. We really appreciate your time, and we hope you've enjoyed the show, everybody. And once again, thank you so much to you, Julia. Take care, everybody.
Thank you. Nice to see everyone. Bye.